and welcome to yet another edition of the Wrap Up. We had a week off to kind of compile our thoughts and pay respect to Gordie Howe. He died about a week and a half ago. It was Friday of the prior week. And that makes me think now back to, was he the best Red Wing ever? Obviously, Mr. Hockey was his name. The fans loved him. The jerseys were, the legends loved him. Wayne Gretzky had many good things to say about him when he was at the visitation at Joe Louis Arena last week, and then obviously at the funeral the following day. That's the reason he wore 99, and that's the reason Mike Modano wore 9. It's the reason a lot of these guys, Evander Kane even said that's the reason he wore 9. Yeah. It brings a question, who is the best Red Wing of all time? And just to think about some names, you have Gordie Howe, you have Steve Yzerman, you have Nicklas Lidstrom, Ted Lindsay, Terry Sawchuk. The list goes on. There's been so many legends that have come through here. And Dan, I don't know if you can pick just one, but who's your best Red Wing of all time?
Well, I feel like it's a generational thing too. You and I were around with Nick and Stevie. So for me, it's, in my perspective, I got to go with Stevie just because we saw the heart, the dedication that he had. And I'm not trying to take anything away from Gordie, because God knows that guy, he played for just a long time. I remember seeing him when he went to play with the Vipers. Granted, he only skated around the rink once, but
I was there as well.
This guy was skating at his age. It's unbelievable. He loved the game. He loved every aspect of it. He just, when he retired, he was always part of it, whether it's, in and out of the locker room or just hanging around Joe Louis. So he's definitely going to be missed. You could just see how much, just the respect, the love they had for this guy. Chris Draper, I saw an interview with him, and he says, he could walk up to you and make you feel like $1 million, and you could have a legend like that. How many legends? How many times could you walk, let's say for basketball, for instance, you come across Michael Jordan. I don't know why I'm calling him Mike Jordan. We're not in a first name. We're not in a first name basis. Yeah,
tight like shoelaces.
Right.
Yeah.
But how many of these players do you see, talk about Mike Jordan in a positive light? It doesn't happen. And for someone who is as big in that sport as Gordie was, he just made everyone. He gave you the time and day anytime you met him. Fortunately, I got enough. I was lucky enough to meet him. Nick, I don't know about you, but he just. You made it feel like it was a one-on-one conversation, and he's a terrific guy, and he's definitely going to be missed. And I think a lot of these modern-day sports or these athletes should take a note from Gordie. He always made time for the people that counted, and those were the fans.
I did get a chance to meet him. It was at the Joe. He was doing a book signing, and that guy needed to lower his prices a little bit. But he was charging me an arm and a leg for And How, great book, by the way. I got a chance to read that. Darren McCarty's book's also good, too, but not to take away. Best Red Wing ever for me, and I say this, and I don't know. I always say Nick Lidstrom. I think he was more important to his team's success. Mind you, I was not around for Gordie Howe. I think Gordie Howe might be one of the more legendary players in the NHL's history. Do I think Gordie Howe might be the best hockey player ever? But for some reason, I think Nick Lidstrom was more important to his team.
Yeah.
He was the staple in that defense. Mm-hmm. Now you look, and just his presence ever since he retired, the Red Wings defense has been atrocious. The perfect human. He doesn't do anything wrong. Now Gordie was important for the fact that he did everything. He fought you. He hammered you. He two-handed you. He scored goals. He passed the puck. He had a great shot. Gretzky said his first season in the league was Gordie's last. And he said he was skating up the middle, and he took the puck from Gordie. Gordie whacked him across the wrist. And he said, "Don't ever take the puck from me again." Wayne said he never took the puck from him again. He was afraid to even skate next to him. But I say Nick Lidstrom. But, I guess you could kind of put an asterisk because I think Gordie Howe might be the most talented hockey player of all time.
Yeah.
But Lidstrom was more important to that team. And the reason I don't say Stevie is because he's surrounded by Sergei Fedorov and the Russian Five, and Lidstrom was on board, Shanahan. Don't get me wrong, Stevie's incredible. He's the captain. He was responsible for the turnaround of this franchise. But to me, it's Nick Lidstrom. And now the next question that this goes into is, who's the best Detroit athlete of all time? There's been so many. There's been Isaiah Thomas, Joe Dumars, Chauncey at times, obviously Lidstrom, Stevie. If you want to dip into Pavel, you could. But more legendary, Barry Sanders, Calvin Johnson. I mean, the list goes on. I mean, you got Tram Whitaker, Kirk Gibby. I mean, who do you got?
That's really tough. You know, like I say, as far as where the team is too. When the Pistons were hot, you could easily talk. Obviously, the Pistons are the topic of discussion, and so during that time period, the going to work era, a lot of people were talking about the Pistons and the Wings, and so I think it varies from time to time depending on where you're at. But that's really tough. I mean, it's very argumentative, and for me, I always have to go back to Stevie. Being a Wings fan, he just did so much for the city. This hockey team, I mean, when they turned it around and they won that cup finally in '97, I'm sure Cleveland can identify with this, especially as recently them winning the championship on Sunday night.
By the way, Cleveland is still Cleveland, just so you know.
The mistake by the leg, right?
Correct. Thank you. It's sticking. It's catching.
I like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I gotta go with Stevie. He just, and I think that's a very personal question as far as everyone's going to have a different perspective. But I think Stevie's my.
I mean, you could argue Gordie Howe, you could argue Al Kaline, Ty Cobb.
Yeah.
But again, I wasn't around for those eras, and I'm going to think more of the lines of Stevie or Nick Lidstrom. I mean, either one, it's a toss-up, flip of the coin. You never know. And you could even bring Miguel Cabrera into the mix. This guy's shattering records for his age, and he's already in the same conversation as Hank Aaron, Babe Ruth, Barry Bonds, Willie Mays. I mean, he's already setting that precedent, and it's good to see Detroit get these athletes, these high-profile guys. So, I mean, I really can't pick one.
Yeah.
Pavel Datsyuk picked somewhere to go. That's Russia. He announced that he's leaving, and that leaves a lot of questions. But before we get into this, I just want to let you take a listen to this. Kenny Holland spoke about getting the deal done 2 years ago when Pavel had said he not wanted to play here. The rumors were, but then he signed the 3-year extension. Let's just talk about getting that deal done. Let's take a listen.
We started to negotiate this current 3-year deal. Gary Greenstein, his agent at the time, sat down. Gary told me that Pav wanted to retire a Red Wing, wanted to do a 5-year deal. I was uncomfortable with a 5-year deal. We sort of went back and forth a little bit. I ended up meeting with Pav. Pav wanted to know what term I felt was fair. I said a 3-year deal. Pav agreed. Pav called Gary Greenstein. Within a day or two, we did the deal that we got done.
So now you think, okay, does he want to play here, you're thinking? It's questionable because the way Holland speaks, you think, oh, yeah, for sure, he's got this under control. But now take a listen as far as what Holland says about players of the past, Chris Chelios, Nick Lidstrom, Stevie, and how they were at the end of their careers. Take a listen to this.
He's a star player. He's 35 years of age. The agent felt at the time, Gary, that Pav wanted to retire. It was important for Pav to retire a Red Wing, and I talked about how Chelios did 1-year deal at the end, and how Lidstrom did a couple of 1-year deals, and the Yzerman did 1-year deals, and I said, let's do a 3-year deal, and if you want to play here till you're 41 or 42, we can keep doing 1-year deals. I said, you've kind of seen my managing style, so fortunately we didn't sign a 5-year deal. We'd have a bigger problem on our hands.
And then this next one, to me, before we get into did Pavel completely screw the Red Wings, should his number be retired, this one to me is the one that makes me really scratch my head about what happened 1 week after Pavel Datsyuk signed his 3-year extension.
But I do know in September of 14, it was the first year of this contract. It was the first week of training camp. I was in Traverse City, and I was getting a tea, and Pav said to me, Ken, when we go back to Detroit, I'd like to come to your office and meet with you. I said, sure. We got back here for the preseason games, and Pav came in my office, and he told me, Ken, this is my last year. I mean, we were a week into the contract. So that's, I just listened. My hope was that Pav was going to leave that meeting. We were going to start playing. Pav had just spent all summer at home, and my hope was that Pav was going to kind of get excited about the National Hockey League and the Detroit Red Wings and be excited with the year.
So now the question is, Did he screw over the team? Did he do it? I mean, obviously, he was unaware of the 35 and over clause that was in the new collective bargain agreement. I'm not buying that he didn't know. He may not speak good English, but he's not dumb.
Right.
I think there is no doubt in my mind Pavel knew he was not going to play out his contract.
Oh, absolutely.
And $7.5 million cap hit is huge. If there's a possibility of getting Steven Stamkos, if you're going to make a run at Keith Yandel, if you want to get Kyle Okposo, $7.5 million could get you 2 of those guys. Mind you, Stamkos is going to be more, but the other 2 you could get for that combined 7.5. And that's a complete screw job by Pavel Datsyuk. And to me, I think it affects his legacy here. I do not want to see the 13 retired at the top of Joe Louis or at the top of Little Caesars Arena unless it's in flames. That's the only way you put 13 in the rafters.
Consistent burning flame of
He
number 13.
is done the Russian way, and that is give you the old Scroogey.
Yeah.
Done. Dead to me.
Yeah.
Dead to me.
He was a terrific player, but he wasn't anywhere near the legends that are hanging in Joe Louis Arena right now, and then the next Gordie Howe Arena or whatever we're calling it as of late. No, he never really showed up in the playoffs. We always had those minor players show up or just key players, but it always felt like he was gone. And then especially these past 2 seasons, I know I heard an interview with Ken Holland post press conference, and he said it sounded like he knew for a good 3 years. And it seemed like these past 3 years, it just sounds like his heart wasn't in it. I think a lot of people were speculating he was hurt, he was injured, and he was hurt, and he was injured. But
His
you
heart
could tell,
was hurt. He was mentally hurt.
yeah,
His-
and you could
he was
tell
butt
something
hurt.
wasn't there. It was just, it wasn't the traditional Pavel Datsyuk that we grew up loving. And
To
fortunately,
me, this is a huge black eye to his legacy. And to me, see ya.
yeah,
Door couldn't hit you in the butt fast enough. Goodbye, Pavel. I mean, he was aging. He's 37 years old. Go play in the KHL. I don't care. You're done here. If you put 13 in the rafters, you better be putting 91 in the rafters. I think Fedorov was a much more important piece to this team. His playoff numbers are so much better than Pavel's. He's a goal scorer. He played defense on the power play and on defense, not just a good back checker. Don't get me wrong. Pavel was great at that. But Sergei left in free agency. He didn't cost us anything.
yeah,
Pavel, at one of the most important off seasons in this team's recent history, he throws us with this. Don't get me wrong, 7.5's a lot for him to return, but 7.5 is a lot for nothing.
yeah.
And that is pathetic to me. And I just think he's just doesn't know any better. He's going back to Putin saying, I got them very good, Soviet. No, see ya, dude. Great. If you're going back for family, that's fine. But when you knew 3 years ago, goodbye, man. And he wanted a 5-year deal.
Yeah,
And then we would have been screwed 7.5.
right.
Now, good luck moving $23 million.
Yeah.
Good luck.
And, and say what you want
Need
to say.
to say.
Yes, I knew that was coming. Say what you want to say about Ken Holland in the past and how he hasn't been doing anything. I heard that post press conference with him, and I thought he handled himself very well. I thought he did a terrific job. He was saying, yeah, we have that 3-year contract, whatever. He goes, but when his agent says they want 5, you can't counter with 1. And so, they met, and I thought he held strong, and, he handled this the best way that he could. Another thing that he said that really, I think it was one of the reporters asked, so, Kenny, do you feel that, Pavel burned you in the organization? One thing you didn't hear him say was no.
No, he made an
He
excuse.
tiptoed around that.
Because he
I
knows
think
he
there's
got
a
screwed.
lot- yeah.
He knows his caboose was hurting.
Yeah.
And it was Pavel right there saying.
Never said no. Yeah. So-
And that leads to my next question. Who gave Detroit, screwed the city or their team over the worst? Pavel Datsyuk, Sergei Fedorov, Ben Wallace, Calvin Johnson, or Barry Sanders? And you know what? Put them in order. To me, this is a no-brainer who number 1 is. No-brainer. Barry Sanders.
Yeah.
He left on the eve of training camp. No warning. Never was it speculated Barry's leaving. 30 years old. Top of his game. Leaves day before training camp. See ya. Did not give the Lions a chance to draft a running back. Did not give him anything. Day before trade, see ya, I'm retiring. To me, that's selfish, and that's why he gave Detroit their worst screw over in recent history, or of all history. Who's your number one?
Yeah, I want to go with Barry, but really with a close second is I got to go with Pabs for sure. You just look at, we were already having trouble. We were playoff trouble. It was a blessing that we've gotten in the playoffs these past 2-3 seasons. And those two are pretty neck and neck. But then I got to go between 3, 4, and 5. There's a big difference between them. Ben Wallace, that team.
1 and 2 are far and away.
Right.
3, 4, and 5 are close, all further away from number 2.
Right.
Right. Okay. I just want to make sure because I agree with you.
Yeah.
So you said Pav number 2.
Pav number 2.
So we agree on those. Who's your 3?
My 3 is Ben Wallace.
As is mine. Look at us. Look at us.
That going to work team, it was already disintegrating. It was a great sort of era, I guess a pseudo era you want to call it.
And he left for more money. Mm-hmm. Went to Chicago.
Yeah. Well, you got to remember they were having trouble with their coaching situation. That I feel like
Michael Curry came in, and that was a rough spell.
Yeah, and they're sort of just now getting back on track from that whole eruption. But and then when did we end up bringing AI in? And that was
08, and that.
So that was a little bit.
That was when we traded Chauncey.
Yeah.
We were 5-0 that year. Traded Chauncey for AI, and we were the 8th seed in the playoffs, and we're swept out of the first round by the Cleveland Cavaliers. 4 for me is Sergei Fedorov, just because it's a little bitter. Obviously he left. There was the offer sheet he signed with Carolina years prior that kind of didn't sit so well. But to me, 3, 4, and 5 are pretty close. 5 for me is Calvin Johnson. I mean, he's banged up, and he didn't take the money. He left with $30 million left to be made, and he's just not going to collect it. And to me, I mean, that means he's truly banged up, and he truly is doing it for the right reasons. And to me, I don't think he's been as explosive in the last couple of years, and I think it was his time.
Yeah. And how much can you take? You walk into a job every day, and it's just you're getting ridiculed. If you turn on the TV, you turn on the radio, you open up the magazine or the newspaper. Some people still receive them, but you get all that negativity. And I know a lot of these those athletes say they don't read it or they don't pay attention to it, but somewhere they do. Social media is just crazy. Not that Kelvin was ever very present on social media, but when you have all these seasons and all these injuries with nothing to show for it, that gets into the player's head. I don't care what they say. It gets into the player's head, and for him to be able to walk out of here with his head still intact. So yeah, I had Kelvin at number 4, and then Sergei at number 5. Because Sergei was towards that stint. There was always rumors and people talking about him probably wanting to move or whatever, and he was a pretty big celebrity, around that time. So, we still had a terrific team. That whole Pavel Bure, Enrique Iglesias situation that was going on there.
Yeah.
So it really wasn't that big of a surprise. Kelvin, there were some whisperings, but I think we sort of knew that was coming. It's been on the table for a while as far as discussion. So, I had to go with Kelvin for number 5 or number 4 and Sergei for number 5.
Yeah, we're going to replenish our thoughts, and we'll be right back right after Danny Myers and Nick B.
If ever there's a reason to be swept up in the season of the falling leaves, and if the days grew shorter and the darkness drew its order from the autumn gray, I'd rather sit this out and sleep the day away instead. Weary eyes a bit too slow indeed. I'd rather sit this out and sleep the day away instead, to worry about the emptiness that comes.
Welcome back. 2 championships have been crowned in the past week. 2 people who are hated in Detroit. Obviously, last Sunday it was Sidney Crosby, and the Penguins winning the Stanley Cup this Sunday. It was LeBron James and the Cavaliers, the first team in NBA history to come back from down 3-1, winning 2 games on the road. Defeat Steph Curry and the Warriors, 93-89. Who do you hate more, Crosby or LeBron?
Oh, easily Crosby.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, he's just, the thing is whether they're throwing his face at us every 5 seconds on a hockey telecast or, just seeing him. But the thing that really solidified that, I will never go back to even giving him a chance. Yes, he's talented, but that 09, or was it 08?
09. When we lost.
We 08.
won in 08.
Well, we won in 08, and he skated off the ice, and that's your captain, and that's just will forever.
Did you watch last night the Warriors? Klay Thompson just walks off, didn't say goodbye to anyone, no handshakes.
Yeah.
That's why, to me, NHL is just hands down better than the NBA. The NBA is scripted pandemonium BS. See how happy Adam Silver was to hand the trophy to LeBron? They were praising him. Don't get me wrong, he had a great series.
Yeah.
But they just praise the ground he walks on. They kiss his feet. Oh, look, LeBron urinated in this cup. Let's cherish it forever.
We'll sell it at auction for a charity. Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, that.
I mean, the worship level is much higher for LeBron. And there's some uneducated folk that I follow on Twitter that you actually know. We went to school with this folk.
Yeah.
Yeah, not the one you're thinking of.
Okay.
The other one.
Okay. Yeah, we'll keep the name off, but yeah.
His name rhymes with
Well, what did he say? Yeah,
Tiggs.
okay.
Yeah, good. He said, if you're just salty if you don't like LeBron. Oh, that's funny. If the Pistons were there, would you still be rooting for LeBron? Oh, didn't think so. Let me just tell you, this kid's the worst at all sports. The worst. So, I mean, take what he says with a grain of salt. I want to smash my phone when I read his tweets. And I'm questioning why I still follow this person, but he supports the worst athletes ever.
Yeah.
And it just boggles my mind.
Yeah.
You're a Detroit fan, you dumbass. Ugh.
Yeah. There's, it's just, there's these people that just love going against the fray. They love being, the Debbie Downer, what have
But
you.
this kid would get his caboose kicked 10 times out of 10.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you're going to see more and more of that, especially now that people actually have a voice, whether it's Facebook, social media
Just
in general.
behind those keys.
Yes.
I'm tough.
So, what really bummed me out last night too, it was a great game. It was terrific.
It's great.
That was awesome. I mean, when you're going into the fourth quarter and there's a 1-point difference between the teams, it was great. Hard fought. One thing that you really have to take out of this was Steph Curry was embarrassing.
He's the worst.
He owes that organization and that fan base an apology. I still like him, but he never showed up. I wonder if he's thinking about retiring and going. Oh wait, no, he's American, so he can't go anywhere. But he didn't show up, sort of like Pale did. But
We can send
I
him
digress.
somewhere.
Yeah.
Steph Curry, the more I watched, the more he just whined and cried. When he throws his mouth guard into a fan in Game 6.
But do you think that LeBron should have won VIP or VIP?
He's very important.
Yeah, he is very important. MVP.
Absolutely.
You think so?
Him or Kyrie, both were outstanding.
I thought Kyrie was.
LeBron averaged the most points, assists, rebounds, steals, and blocks of the whole team.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. Don't take away from Kyrie. Had a great performance. I hate Kyrie just a little bit more than I hate LeBron, though.
Really?
That's a bold statement, Cotton, but it's true. And obviously, what got me was the Conn Smythe was awarded to Sidney Crosby.
Oh,
He
yeah.
had 0 goals in the Stanley Cup Finals and was a -2. Weird. And
-2 or -4?
-2.
Was it -2? Okay.
Yeah, it's just, Gary Bettman, okay. And I loved the fans booing him. He was trembling. Did you see him?
Oh, that was
He was
just
like,
I was eating that up. That was
man,
awesome.
I was turning the volume up. Like,
Yeah.
Dustin Johnson finally wins his first major, U.S. Open, age of 31. Man, if I could switch places with one athlete, Dustin Johnson would be the guy. He's just entering his prime of golf, hits the ball 370 yards, wins the U.S. Open, just raking in the cash, and more importantly, Paulina Gretzky. We'll leave it at that. Oh, smoke show. That's good to see. And then the USGA kind of tossing him around with that. Did his ball move? Did he make it move? And then they weren't going to tell him until after his round. So that could have screwed him over. If he was only up by 1, they give him a 1-stroke penalty, which at the end he won by 4. So he just said, give me the 1-stroke penalty. Doesn't matter.
Right.
Classy. Gets the USGA out of a lot of stuff. A lot of golfers tweeted about the amateur hour. That's what Jordan Spieth said. Rory McIlroy chimed in as well. Justin Thomas, Ricky Fowler, and Luke Donald all chimed in about that in support of Dustin Johnson opposing the USGA, and that would have been real hairy if it would have been close, come down, and then there needed to be a playoff on Monday.
Yeah, that would have been interesting. But that was huge of him. That's real. Yeah, that's very professional of him, and that was a great.
And it was
it was a tough course too. I was watching.
Yeah.
They were having trouble. I mean, some of these
Those
guys
greens were just stupid.
Yeah.
And what got me was it was just a really good comeback from last year. Obviously, the 3-putt from 8 feet to lose the U.S. Open. And this year, he slams the door with the best shot of his career. His second shot on 18 sticks it to about 2 feet, tap-in birdie, shoots 5 under for the tournament, 4 under after the penalty, and gets it done. British Open will be the next.
Yep.
That's in July, and that's a good one to watch. You can wake up at 4 a.m. and catch some golf. So that's good. Dan, you golfed this weekend, as did I.
How'd you do?
Not as good as DJ. I had some penalties given to me by the USGA. They really screwed the pooch. But I battled through it and was able to finish the round with my head held high.
All right.
How'd you do?
So
that
we
means
got to get
we're
going.
gonna-
It's crazy. Look at that time.
Look
All
at the time. For Dan Myers, I'm Nick Buckler. We'll see you next week.